How are you, man?
Dude, I'm doing good today, man. How are you doing? It's like a beautiful day and we're trapped inside, bro.
Yeah. Gonna walk around my backyard here in a minute.
Right? I've never gone on more walks in my life.
Hey, man, maybe we'll adapt some good habits, after this is all said and done.
I kind
In,
of
in,
think you're right about that.
in every perspective, right?
But dude, are you like, okay, this is me. Are you eating way too stinking much right now?
Yeah. Oh, of course. I just use it as an excuse.
It's okay to eat that. It's okay to eat the Nutella coronavirus.
Right, right. Maybe that's the cure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
ridiculous. I don't even know what's going on, man. So,
It's
how's
wild.
everybody doing, dude? How's your family? How's life?
Everybody's good. I mean, you know, just trying not to panic about everything you hear or read, and then uh, just stay in the calm zone. You know what I mean? But at least we're all together. Everybody's healthy. Trying to make the best of my time. Actually, I have like a makeshift mobile studio, and then just been recording some new fun stuff.
Whoa,
Yeah, yeah.
dude, you just
So
broke that right here. Now everybody's gonna want to know what's going on.
send me a rough copy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Send me a copy right now. I mean, are you guys like addicted to the news like most of us? Or are you trying to not get on it?
No, it's hard not to. You don't want to be ignorant to it. You know what I mean? But then even now, I think have it on one station or one news channel, and then it's like I'm gonna see what other channels are saying, and just trying to get whatever you can, but not be consumed by it though.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because it's easy to get super wrapped up in this.
Right, but it's no joke. I think if anything, they're putting out the information that it's not a joke. Most people are treating it that way still.
Yeah.
We're so invincible. That's what we think. And then yesterday, I think deaths are up to about 5,000. They're saying in the U.S. and they're saying that they're predicting 200,000. Like that's crazy.
Dude. And I was just thinking about this too. Just before we jumped on here, I was like, actually, it's great that you're on because I think people will listen to you that maybe aren't watching these news things, that are out there.
Mm.
Like, not everybody's watching that, but you can kind of, encourage us all too. Like, get on, be serious about this stuff, stay home, all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm just I'm just like everybody else. I'm trying to do the best that I can, and
Right.
but also trying to be, you know, just don't think selfishly about it. You know what I mean? Like for me, I think, Lord willing, I'm still young enough and healthy enough that if I was to get sick, I'd still recover. But the thought of getting someone else sick or, that's more devastating to me. I wouldn't want to be responsible for that.
I think that's what freaks me out is the idea of getting somebody else sick.
More so than myself, or even my kids. I don't want my kids to get sick, and it's hard because we have even my kids' friends, it's like, can they come over? They're good. They're no one's sick at their house. And it's like, it's hard to say no, but we are, that's the problem. We're like, you can't, we're not taking any chances.
Yep. We can't. It's just, if we're going to end this, we got to all just kind of take it super serious.
Yeah. So it's hard being inside though, for sure. But we've been doing the minimum as far as walking the dog and practicing social distancing that way. And it's funny though, because everybody's out. Like, a couple weeks ago, no one was out. And then you take a walk outside and then everybody's just with their families. We're living in a different world altogether.
It's just crazy. It's
They
just
should have
crazy.
they should have told people they can't stay inside. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. I know. I like a few days ago, it was like people were still out too close to each other, but even every day it's getting more and more like everybody's keeping total space now.
Yeah. No, I think for the most part, people are trying. It's just, I think the scariest part is just being in limbo, not knowing what's going on, who's telling the truth,
Yeah.
what it's all about.
Yeah, I can't keep track of all the news, dude. It's like nuts, like this and that, and it's all over the place.
Right. And then there's still the whole political game in it.
Yeah.
And, then they're still treating it as politics. And so it's sad altogether.
Well, I'm glad you're good, dude, and thanks for doing this. It's kind of fun, man. We just get to talk about, I don't know, maybe I can ask you a few questions just to like about life. And the main thing that I'm wanting to like that you and I were talking about is like I've been teaching recently on this idea of like what it takes to reach people, to like help people to know who Jesus is in the world, in like just a normal relational approach. And so, but first I thought it would be cool, like you're a San Diego dude, you're a South Bay guy through and through to the end. How did you come to know Jesus?
For me, it was, excuse me, it's funny because I have roots with San Diego Calvary. You know, grew up in a young family, just typical story, you know what I mean? All those problems that come with it. But growing up with all my friends and then watching, you know, your surroundings, without getting into it, we're just lost. It's normal, everyday people, the average people going through struggles, crazy stuff, doing dumb stuff. But it was more so of watching my you know, people in my family started getting saved. My uncle got saved, my aunt, my mom, and you started watching these knuckleheads that were, you know, we all knew about God because we all grew up in Catholic homes, and so there was this knowledge of God, but I guess there was no, they just didn't know him. You know what I mean? You can know about, but knowing is different. Yeah. And watching my uncle and watching my mom and watching people really change their lives for the better, from being drug dealers to just everything that comes with the nonsense of being just young and dumb, and to really watch this change in their life. That was undeniable for me. So I always respected that there's something to this. It's not just me, you know, going to church on Easter and Christmas, you know, with my grandma. Right. There's something more to this Jesus fellow. And but then eventually, you know, through my teenage years, I would even go to a youth group over there at San Diego and stuff, and you know, and just getting an understanding of it. But you know, and it always kind of settled on my heart. But really hit me was when my mom got sick, and she was diagnosed with leukemia when I was about 18, and then she would pass away when I was 19. And so I was really at that point kind of faced with the decision. And again, this would go on forever, you know, my story, but it really came down to me watching her pass away in the hospital, and then, you know, in that parking lot of this hospital here in San Diego, really praying to God and saying, God, you know, if you take my mom, I don't know what I'm going to do. So that was more of an invite for me to ask God to come in my life and make sense of it all. And at the time, it was more because I thought I was making my mother proud. Right. And she was hanging on there for a while in the hospital bed. And I remember something she told me, you know, a couple years before, and I think I came home high, and I was trying to sneak to my room, and she met me, you know, before I got to my room, and she just said, you know, when I die, I want to know that you're going to be in heaven with me. Wow. Straight up. And I was like, Mom, of course, Mom, you know, what do you want me to do? And so that kind of started this, you know, taking it serious. And she invited me to Harvest Crusade, and that's part of my story as well. But when she was finally in the hospital, and she was, you know, they kind of in a coma, I would say, that she couldn't respond. And then I just remember this conversation. And at one point in the morning, the doctor came in and said, you know, he would come in every day, and he would say, be prepared through the night. She's not going to make it through the night. Then come through in the morning, prepared. She's not going to make it through the day. This was going on for a week. And then finally, one day I'm sitting there, and he comes in and he says, you know, because he really didn't have an excuse or a reason why she hadn't passed already. And then he said, you know, it's not a medical term. It's like, but we kind of refer this to as mother's heart. And everybody's like, what do you mean mother's heart? And he says, well, she doesn't, you know, the body's gone, you know, the body's leaving, but the heart is what keeps you alive. And he said, and she doesn't want to leave her kids.
Dang.
That's what he said. He said that, and I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden I'm having this flashback and this memory of when she confronted me and said, I will not die unless I know that you'll be in heaven with me.
No.
And so that moment, I was just tripping. And then later on that day, I went out, like I said, to the parking lot, and I just said, God, I don't need anybody to tell me I'm a sinner. I don't need anybody throwing the good book at me and preaching at me right now, because if anything, the only way I've ever seen, excuse me, only way I've ever seen Jesus would be through my mom.
Wow.
And those around me, that it was real. It wasn't this religiosity. It wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't this know-it-all Christianity. It was just broken people that would come to find this peace and this joy in the Lord, even till her dying breath. And that's what was real to me. So nobody could take that to me. So that away from me. So that day, like I said, I went to the parking lot and I said, I don't want the world's Jesus. I don't want these televangelists that I see on TV and this holy water, type of stuff, selling it to the poor. I don't want that Jesus. I want my mom's Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Something you need to
exactly, but to meet me, if that meets somebody, I don't know who it meets, but for me, in my situation, as just a young kid and just trying to do right and stay out of trouble, but being kind of caught up in your own circumstances, with all that comes with that, from broken home to all that. So whatever comes with that, it's just knowing that here, at the end of my mom's life, she's dying, but she has this peace and this joy and this certainty of who God is, and that was I wanted that.
Yeah.
At least at the moment, I didn't know that I wanted it for me. I wanted it for her.
Right.
And so I just said, Lord, if you're who you say you are, please come into my life and show me. And I just want to know, And then I had went back into the room and I just whispered in my mom's ear. I said, go and be with Jesus. I'll be all right.
Oh my gosh.
And then it wasn't much longer after that she went to be with the Lord. And so that, again,
oh my gosh,
that's why people can debate, and they can argue. Christians can argue with heathens. We can argue with each other about who God is, or, how do you know this? How do you know that? But it's these moments in my heart of hearts that I know this is real. And I might not be able to explain it the best sometimes, but I know that this, that I know.
And nobody can take that away. Nobody can take that away from you.
And then the things that I've seen, and that's been, I'm getting old, it's been a while. This is my journey, almost 30 years and still just trying to just figure out the journey, but it was because of that moment that I knew there's something to this. And I thought I was doing it, like I said, for my mother, but eventually it just was undeniable that the things that, how much God was in the detail of it all. And even to this day, how much God is in the detail. And so to me, that's undeniable. And so I'm not willing to debate or argue with anybody about whether Jesus is real, whether God is real, whether they believe or not. All I can do is just love them and do my best to be their friend and be that person that they need. And that's kind of what's been going on, and even in rock and roll for the last 30 years with me,
And that's what's so cool is it seems to me it's like you came in, with this realness. Like, I just need to know the real Jesus through your mom. And then you've carried that into your entire life now for the last 25, 30 years through it all. So you're 18, 19 years old when you meet Jesus, and this incredible, terrible, but beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't long after that you guys, you started doing some music.
Yeah, I started, my cousins, he's the drummer of P.O.D, and Marcos, they were my guitar player. They were already jamming, and I would go to their shows. They would play, backyard parties, and I would go there just to, get the pit started and protect them, because they were kind of known as these Christian guys, so I would go there with my friends, and it was more like, dude, if anybody was to say anything, then we were ready to handle business, already trying to defend the faith, and I'm not even there yet, Come to find out later, my cousin asked Marcos, he said, hey, what do you think about, Sonny singing for the band? And Marcos was like, Sonny, he doesn't even talk. How's he going to sing? how's he going to sing in a band, And then come to find out later, from Wov, he had said that I was just trying to keep him out of trouble and, keep him from going nuts. And so.
Did you know you could sing at that point?
I still don't know that I can sing, man. It had nothing to do with that. There was no like dreams and desire of being in a band, because when they had asked me, and I had actually said, let me, what a typical Christian, new Christian, I'll pray about it, bro. and then, but so again, one of the details where I had actually take some time off of work. I was working at Lucky's at the time, and I went with my uncle, and they were doing a job at In-N-Out Burger. They do the landscaping. Oh. And so I had taken 2 weeks off. I went up to Fresno with them to do the landscaping. And on a Wednesday night, we had went to Calvary, Fresno. And then there was hardly anybody there on a Wednesday night. And then in comes these two guys. It was the bass player, and it was the drummer of this band called The Crucified. Oh. And they were a Christian band that I actually respected. And to again, that God was in the details. I was actually at their concert prior to the night before my mother was rushed back into the hospital after her remission. And I went there, and at the end of their set, every night they would sing this song, United by Christ, United. And everybody was chanting this. And I remember thinking how bold and brave and how hard this was, except because I wasn't living that, I felt like I couldn't chant that with them. Right. And then that night we ended up going, just hanging out with my friends, partying. And then the next day, my mother she was in the hospital, and I was supposed to go visit her, but I wasn't. And that's when I got the call saying, I think you need to get down here. Oh. So for me, in this moment of I'll pray about it, here I am going to church, and the two guys of this band that I actually was what I knew about even just this Christianity thing and this being up front and bold, right, walked in. And then that night, in the hotel room, my cousin and I went there and and I said, I'll do it. And we grabbed a pen and a pad, and I started writing lyrics right there, me and him.
No way. And then you guys change the name, and you call it P.O.D, and you guys start playing.
Well, we were just being, like I said, kids. And then we had to come up with a name, and Payable on Death was a hard name, at the time. It sounded tough. It didn't sound like, and it come to find out, it was my sister-in-law. She worked at a bank, and that Payable on Death is when someone passes away and, what they leave behind, and so we related that to Jesus on the cross. But, our heart was never to be known as at that time, we didn't even know, to me, I didn't know there was Christian music or a Christian band. I just thought, even with the Crucified, I didn't know they were a Christian band per se. I thought they were like, these guys are just hard, and they're telling you like it is, and you're going to either respect it or don't, walk away, whatever. This is what I believe. And all the bands that I were into were doing that. And so I never saw them as a Krishna band or a straight edge, even though there was all these kind of genres. It was like, no, these guys just believe in something. And so, I respect that they're screaming it out loud. Right. And so when we got with P.O.D, it was like, why can't I do the same? And it wasn't about preaching at anyone. It was just saying, dude, I'm learning this myself, and this is becoming so real to me in my life. This Jesus guy is becoming more real to me in my life. And so now I have a mic, and I can scream it out loud just like anybody else. And so my approach was more, which was crazy, because we've learned so much. We were so just young kids, screaming at the top of our lungs and not really considering how to move in love and move in just meekness. It was more like this gang mentality, like, well, dude, I'm a Christian, and I'll tell you what's up if you don't like it. That's just how it is. We can meet in the back, and so we would play with white power bands. We would play with all these guys, and it was more like, and I had all my friends that weren't even Christians. We had more of the guys in the pit ready to fight for for us. Yeah, not really know, and it wasn't till later that that I remember we played a bar, and if you listen to our early stuff, it's all in your face. There's no kind of humility about it, no love. It's just, I would say love is a different kind of love. It's a tough love. But there was a guy who wrote us a letter one day, back when there was letters, And he said, he said, I've been playing in San Diego all my life, and I see this kind of buzz that you guys got going on. And he said, dude, I love the passion. I love all that, just the intensity. He said, but don't forget to love people first. And he said, you guys are playing in places that I'll never be able to play. He said, most guys of your faith will never be able to play. He said, right. So remember, don't burn, he was, in a way, he was saying, don't burn down the place. You want to be invited back. Mm. He said, because there's somebody listening, and you don't have to just burn down the building with the gospel or with this fire that you have from the Lord. Like, love people and plant these seeds. And so that always stuck in my heart, where it was more, how many seeds can we throw out? Seeds of love, seeds of God's forgiveness, of his goodness. How many seeds can we throw out to so that God can bring it and harvest it? It wasn't that we were doing it. It was just because at the time, to be truthful, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that I had a tool to do it. And so here's 30 years later, I'm still learning how to do it, Right.
And that's what I love about, that's what I love about you guys, and you especially, is that, like, there is that humility of, I'm just still trying to you're trying to be man. You, but you as a Christian. And it's so cool, dude.
Thanks, man.
I'm curious, man. Like, how did you, I'm curious how, because I know, we're going to have a mixed group of people on here, people that are Christians, people that are not. It's all good. We love them all. Like, how did you, you were you, and you're out there and you're doing, you guys created a whole new vibe.
Yeah.
It was completely like nothing anybody had heard.
Yeah.
Did you get a lot of crap from Christians for going into that world like that?
For sure, man. I mean, even like I said, we were playing bars and we weren't even 21. We'd have to wait outside, you know what I mean? And they'd bring us into play, and then they'd kick us out. And we just thought that's what bands do. And if we can be Christians in a band, and these other guys can be these guys in a band and sing and do what they want, why can't we do it? So we didn't know any different. It wasn't until we actually, a friend of ours was in a band, and he took us out during the summer for 2 weeks, and we're actually playing this Christian festival out in Illinois somewhere. And that's when we really saw, dude, there's all kinds of these bands. They're a little bit more like-minded like us. There's this hardcore scene, there's this punk scene, but they're all Christians. And so it was like, wow, so there really is kind of this scene out there, and it was very kind of underground. And so that's all we knew. It wasn't till, but we were already getting slack from Christians because we weren't, whether we had tattoos or this music is not of God. And actually, I think to go back, actually, the story is the first gig we got offered was at our guitar player's church. And it's right here in San Diego. And they asked us to come play for their church. And they were having all these youth groups come in because they were going to go down to Mexico to build a house down there for an orphanage, right? So they were stopping in San Diego, and they thought they'd have some live music. So we get on stage. First time, I think, we had already been playing around San Diego. This is the first time we played a Christian
like a
venue.
Church.
Yeah, a church. Yeah. Here we are playing clubs. I think at this point we'd already played with Green Day before they blew up, and all of a sudden, but because we were Christians, we got asked to play this church, and we're like, yeah, dude, why not? We'll play wherever. Yeah. So we play, and the first song, a guy walks up and literally clamps Marcos's guitar and says, "Oh no, we cannot do this. We can't do this." And we were like. And even so the kids at first, as soon as we hit that first guitar note, the kids' eyes lit up like, what is this? They stood up and they're like freaking out. And as soon as he stops, it was like all the kids just got deflated, like, oh. And then he said, oh no, we can't do this. We can't do this. And then he grabs the mic and he says, hey guys, we're not going to do this, but hey, let's give these guys, let's thank them for their time, and let's give them 5 crisp ones. And so, like zombies, I'll never forget, these kids, like zombies, all clapped their hands 5 times to thank us. And I was just like, I literally grabbed the mic back out of this pastor's hand, and I said, hey, you know what? That's okay, man. Don't be bummed. Dude, who cares? This is just music.
Yeah.
It's not about us. Like, dude, we came here because we're the fact that you guys have come from cities all around San Diego and you're going into our backyard, Mexico, to build an orphanage, dude, that is That's the most beautiful thing. Who cares about music?
Right.
We just wanted to come here and say thank you. We just wanted to come here and encourage you for doing these works and being an example of who God is. Wow. And like, so thank you. And the kids were, dude, they loved it. And we thanked the guys for, hey, having us. But at that point we knew this is not where we're supposed to play.
Wow. So you almost, but even just the way you described that, Sonny, you could have described that in really negative terms, but you didn't. You described that as like all love, just love.
Because it's part of the journey, man. Like you see, and that's why, I don't hear audibly from God. So those are things that say, you know what? No, just keep doing what you were doing. And even when all those people, to answer your question, when Christians were like, oh, this is not of God, this is wrong. It was more like, no, keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating to be these guys or these new baby Christians that just want to tell the world, but then what as God's people is telling you you're wrong and you're not right and you're doing it wrong.
Right.
And so I just for another story, I remember when years had gone by and then we finally signed and then we were going to play our first big rock and roll festival. And then I think Marilyn Manson was headlining it at the time. And at the time he was the devil himself. Remember that those days? Right. Everybody was in uproar about Manson. So we had gotten to the festival and there was all these picket signs out there. We thought, oh, dude, here these Christians are out there picketing Manson again. And as soon as the closer we get, they were actually picketing P.O.D.
What?
And saying that these guys are not of God. They're not this and all this stuff. And we were like, what? And so if anything, we thought like, dude, how rad is it that you have these believers? We just infiltrated this camp. We're going to go in and play some music just as good as everybody else. But able to say, hey, man, thanks for listening to us. And dude, we believe in God and we know that God loves us, man. And he, he's a God of second chances, everything good, nothing negative. Because at this point, it had been 7-8 years and we've been, at least I felt we've been learning how to adapt and to relate. And, the music was still hard and in your face, but it still had this tone of like, hey, man, we love you and we're just trying, we believe in a God of love and we're just trying to figure it out just like you. And so that was just another time that was like, man, we just can't make Christians happy.
It's like people are happy. Like Christians were happy if it's just a worldly band or a completely just Christian band. But the idea of a Christian group trying to break into there, people freaked out.
Yeah, and that's the problem is that we have such a weapon in grooming these in supporting these bands that are out there and doing that. And actually they're, I call them in some way they're missionaries.
Right.
They're missionaries because they're out there and they're standing firm and they know they have their convictions, they believe in the Lord, and they're just trying to be good at their craft and at the same time being available to love people out there and to answer questions and just to be a light in the world. And that is their heart to do that. But we as a church and as Christians, because we don't understand it, instead of praying for it and allowing God to do it, we snuff it out. Because we think that it's not of God.
We snuff the punk. Is that the?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Well, I've been like teaching this thing at our church on this idea of like the Apostle Paul, who was a missionary, like you're talking about. Mm-hmm. He was willing to go into different cultures than his own culture. Yeah. For the whole purpose of reaching people. Like he didn't have to hold on to his own cultural bias. He was willing to give up things. He was willing to take up things in order to reach people. Yeah. And I was thinking about that, though. I was thinking, like, you're going to get into areas I'm never going to get into. Yeah. I don't have what God's given you. And here's what I think happens with a lot of Christians, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is that because I can't reach that group, I can't even imagine that you could reach that group because So I put limitations on you that are my limitations. True. And I try to create this like fear of, hey, why is P.O.D. out there when I couldn't be out there? But isn't it true that we all have our own place in God's kingdom? And we all have our place. And I think my role is to be the biggest cheerleader for you and for people who are in that genre who are in that world. Like you're out there doing something I could never do.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's more just trusting the call that God puts on people's lives. You know what I mean? And I mean, I think when when it's evil, you're like, hey, bro, this is just wrong.
Right.
But not always when it's not something I understand, or maybe even in your opinion is just not what you're into. There's a lot of things that, even that happens in the church that I'm very opinionated about. Right. But because you can say Jesus and you can say, you can wear this kind of, it's easy to say, okay, well, these guys are Christians. Right. And because they fit the puzzle pieces the way you think they're supposed to fit, and this box that you think they're supposed to fit. And so it's just acceptable. But get some guys that are tattooed and screaming in a microphone, at that time anyway. Now it's a little bit more accepted, but there's other things that are like, oh, this is pushing the boundaries. So even now it's like, even for me, that the older I get, or, I question, oh, is this pushing the boundaries, or is this something maybe the Lord is doing something in these guys that I'm just not fully aware of right now, or I don't get it, because I'm not 20 something years old anymore, I'm becoming the old wineskin,
Exactly. But do you think that's a factor? It's like we have to keep young in a sense of our own heart. Like if maybe now we get to the age where it's now the new young guys that are going to be the ones to do these things, break barriers.
Well, I mean, even Jesus said we're always supposed to be young-minded, and our hearts young and fresh in that way to not, not get so spiritually minded, or because we've read the Bible a million times and just all of a sudden we have it all figured out.
Right.
Because we don't. You know how many guys I've seen even in my journey that, because, they're some of the smartest guys I know, and then they just complicate the things of the gospel that are so simple. Right. And even as believers, sometimes we just complicate things, or we want to put things in a box that either we are scared of, or we don't know. But even say someone like Head from Corn. I mean, when he went back to Corn, everybody thought, oh, dude, this guy lost it, or he's not who he said he was. And it was like, no, he was going back to his friends. He was just trying to let people see that, dude, that it wasn't just, it wasn't this fluke, that he actually loves Jesus and he believes in God. And so now how do I show that to the world? It was easy to do it when he was speaking, 10 nights a week in Christian churches.
Right.
And even he
accepted that.
And they accepted that. But I remember at one point, because he was doing music and he was like, he didn't understand why people were not getting his music. And I was like, bro, these old Christians, they like your story. Your story is what they like. They're never going to like your tattoos. Exactly. They're never going to like your music. They're never going to like your hair, but they like they like your story.
Right.
It's a great story of redemption, but now just conform to what we want you to be,
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We love that you did that, but can you be more like us?
Yeah. Now, can you change now?
And you were a big part of, and that's something that's worth maybe just talking about a little bit, is that in kind of more recent times, you were a part of the Whosoevers, and this kind of like whole new move of like, let's get into that scene and let's reach people. Do you want to talk about that? Like, what is the Whosoevers?
When I took some time off of music, because even for me, just trying to figure it out, like P.O.D. we were on top of the world there for a while, but in the meantime, I was just kind of losing my perspective. And again, like, dude, I'm not here to boast about myself or say I have it all figured out. And I went into this industry with, this flaming sword, and like I was going to save the world. It was just like, dude, I just want to love people, and this is what I know. But in that you learn. There's many mistakes, and you fall and you get back up, and so for a while there, things had just gotten so good as far as our band was getting popular, and it's like, so you're just trying to figure out, okay, wait a minute, like I didn't jump in this band to be a rock star, so what it was a balance, and then I started seeing things around me and people that I love, and we were all getting caught up in just the fame and just it's rock and roll, but you don't know that until you get there, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I have to actually be about it. And now this is tough. And so
Dang.
I got to a point where I was like, I need to take a break, and just for my own sanity, to make sure my heart was right. And that's when I decided I just want to sit at God's feet. And I want to make sure that this little prayer that I said so long ago in a parking lot the day my mom passed away, that I didn't want to just believe I was saved because even though I know I'm saved and God saved me at that moment, it was like, wait a minute, I still have a lot more learning to do. I still have a lot more growing up. And I just want to take what I've learned and whatever's good inside of me and keep on building on that and let God take the rest, because it's been a whirlwind. It's been a crazy experience. And so at that point, it was more just getting back down to the simplicity of the gospel. And it went down to the first verse I think I ever memorized as a kid was John 3:16.
Oh.
For God so loved the world that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. So really, to me, the whosoever, it sounded like a people. It sounded like a gang. Mm-hmm. It sounded like a culture. And it was just God's plea saying, here's my son. Listen to him. Listen to him, and it wasn't this, even for me, the term Christian had so many terms, it had so many definitions at the time. So it was confusing. It was almost like I didn't even like walking into the secular world where I was like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian.
Right.
Because what does that mean to them? What does that mean to them?
Exactly. Yep.
There's too many negative definitions. Even Jesus didn't say I was a Christian or here's my Christians. He didn't say that.
Right.
So I struggle with that term even to this day. I would rather have people just know, this guy loves Jesus, man. He's not perfect, but I know he loves Jesus. I know it's real. I know he loves me. Yeah. So with the whosoever's, it was more just being around guys that were the same heart and mind. And that was, Brian from Korn. It was my buddy Ryan, Papa Raw's son, and it was Lacey from Flyleaf. And it was all of us that were just trying to stay in that same, just tender heart that we have for the Lord and for people, and not get jaded by Christianity, by religious people, and not be sucked into the world as well. So it was more like a brotherhood, sisterhood. But then the moment we got asked to share our stories, it was very powerful. In a way that we were watching kids, and kids were coming out. They were like, oh, dude, Head from Korn, Lacey from Flyleaf, let me come check them out. And then all of a sudden, when it was more, strip away the heavy guitars and everything, it was like, hey, man, this is my story. And I'm here because I love you, because I believe this is real. And, I have nothing to gain from it. You know what I mean? There's nobody's paying me to do this. I love you, love you, love you. That's why I'm here. And so there was more of a response to this genuine heart of sharing our stories. Wow. And obviously in that story, is the gospel message. Yeah. And so it just, it carried on, and we were able to throw some cool events and be a part of a lot of cool stuff. And then finally, I didn't know I'd be going back to P.O.D. And so all of a sudden I'm back on the road, and now Ryan, he kind of heads that up. And right now I think where we are right now is mostly in schools. We've been invited to come into public schools all over the world. And so Ryan he's been spearheading the charge to go in there. And it's cool to watch him get fired up, because Ryan's on a whole nother level right now. He's laying hands on people. He wants, it's that childlike heart that we said earlier. It's like, where some of us would be like, oh, dude, I don't want to look like a religious freak. Ryan's out there. I don't care. I'll lay hands on people. I'll ask God to heal them. I want to see people, and I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. Total boldness, dude, in schools all over the world right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude.
It's crazy.
So I think that's where the whosoever's right now, just because it's always been to meet young people where they're at. And there's such a need for young people that nobody wants to talk about. I think our kids are going through the most craziest of times. Yeah. And even our kids that are raised in Christian families, that's where we've seen more of a need, was when we were speaking, with the whosoever's were speaking at churches, because all the pastors were like, well, it's not, not my kids. This will reach those kids. But every time we were doing these churches, and then we'd ask people to come up for prayer, all of a sudden it was the pastor's kids that were up there saying, dude, this is the Jesus I want. And then the pastor behind in the green room after that saying, hey guys, we support you guys.
Yeah.
because it was real. You know, most of these kids that have grown up in Christian homes, or their dads are pastors, even like you, it's like at some point they got to find their Jesus and not my daddy's Jesus.
Exactly. You know, for us, we lived most of our life over in Eastern Europe in Hungary. I know you just played there not too long.
Yeah, love it out there.
Everybody loved having you there. It was great. And but you know, there's not that same you know, pastor's kid thing that there is here in America.
Right.
But I tell you, man, I feel for kids that grew up in church, because we still have to discover the real Jesus for us. You know, everybody's got their thing that they're wrestling with.
Yeah.
And we tend to like, oh, they're good, or oh, they're bad, but it's not like that. You know,
No.
Man, there is no good, there is no bad in that sense. We all need Jesus.
We all need it. I think when with the pastors and stuff and their kids, when we were doing whosoever stuff, it's like, dude, I love you, bro, and I love pastors, and I know how hard your job is, and you serve 24/7, 24/7, 24/7 on call to pray for people, to love people, to help them wherever they need. And a lot of times, though, because it is such a 24/7 hour job, you know, we have wives and kids at home. Yeah. And we just think, oh, because, you know, we love the Lord, and I know that they love God, and God protects us. But dude, that's how the enemy gets us. Yep. the closest to our hearts.
Yep.
If I can't get to Pastor Phil,
right,
well, the enemy's going to go after somebody that's close to you, because I need to destroy the work of God that he's doing. And so I don't take that lightly at all. Right. And I've seen that in my own family, and so we have to do that. So when I see these kids, it's a lot of times these pastors' kids will be at these churches, and they just seem bummed and hurt. And it's like, because they're going through hell, even though their father is an awesome man of God and he's doing God's work on the daily. They're going through tough stuff. Because why? Because the enemy wants to take them out. Yeah. And so that's a real struggle. This spiritual world is a lot more crazier than what's going on in the real world right now.
Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. Oh, dang. Hey, let me ask you a question. You guys are well, obviously everything's off right now. There's no touring. There's no. You guys had to cancel a bunch of concerts.
Yeah, we were supposed to be on tour right now. Things are moved back. So our next thing is in June. We were going back over to Europe to play all the festivals and stuff. And I already Download in England, one of the huge festivals I saw, they canceled it. So I'm just hoping that, you know, we get through this and it's over by then. Because I think what people are going to want the most is, you know, not only to get outside and get in the sun, but go back to the things that actually were fun. And that is being able to go to the movies, you know, being able to go watch one of your favorite bands play, go up to watch a football game, a baseball game, you know. So hopefully we'll get back to normal real soon.
Yeah. I just saw somebody on Twitter put that up earlier today. They said, man, once we can, I'm going to every concert possible.
Yes, because you have to support my family.
I was gonna say, like, what do bands do? Like, what are artists doing right now?
It's tough, bro. I mean, obviously, you know, when you're the biggest rock stars and they've already made millions and millions and millions, they can sit around and give away free music, and they can sit around and which is a great thing, get on TV and play for the millions on TV. It's like, because they're not suffering that way financially. Me and the P.O.D, we're a blue collar band. We're a working man's band. You know, we tour 13 months out of the year. You know, it's you don't work, you don't eat. And so for the bands that are out there, it's tough. It's tough. You know, I see bands that are, you know, some of my favorite bands, but because they're not these mainstream artists, and just like us, it's like, dude, they're out there saying, dude, go check out our merch store, buy a T-shirt. You know, it's like, support the band, and they're still grinding. And technically, P.O.D, I mean, we're grinding too. You know, if they were saying there's no touring for the rest of the year, it's like we're in a tough situation. Man. You know, because that's how we make a living. So, you know, but again, till then, it's just a trust in God game, bro. Right. That's it. That's it. With all this stuff, I'm not a scientist. I don't know all the facts. All I know is I have to trust in God. It's the main power that I have right now, is to trust in God and believe that there's a reason behind all this.
Yeah, you know, we probably both agree with this, of like, we know, like, this is not God's punishment. All this stuff
No,
going
man.
on right now, God's not mad at the world. He already took all of his anger out on his son Jesus on the cross.
Yeah, man.
Like, this is not God's wrath. This is just
No,
this is what
dude.
happens in a world that is fallen. It just happens.
Yeah. We live in a sinful world, and unfortunately, hopefully this doesn't bring out even the worst in all of us, looking around us. But it is sad to look around and see what's going on. And but it's funny because they're asking me, "What's your opinion? What's that?" I'm like, dude, I don't have an opinion. I'm not a doctor.
Right.
Why do you care what I have to say? I don't. All I know is the facts that are given to me, and I'm still trying to understand it myself. The only thing that I do know is because of, what I know of God's word and who God is, and because of my faith, all I know, and because, like we talked about before, that there is a spiritual battle. Those are the things that I'm more aware of, that I know more so about this virus. But I do know that there is a real enemy out there, and he's causing confusion, and he's trying to throw us off a loop. He's trying to take our eyes and our hearts off of God. And so that's the confusion part. So all I do know, without arguing, without debating, is that I am trying to do the things that I'm supposed to do for me and my family, and that is trust in God.
Right.
That is even trying to read his word when I don't want to.
Right.
Because I want to find hope in there, and I want to find more answers in
right.
there, and trusting God to these times. That's all I can do. So if they're asking me, hey, what do you think about that? Then that's a different thing. But it's like, what do you think about the coronavirus? Like, bro, I have no idea.
Yeah, we're all watching the news together.
All I know is just trusting God. He's got it all in control, man.
But my hope and prayer is that, like, as soon as this is over, man, I think, and I'm watching all these people, like, dude, you got a lot of love in Brazil, man. People are going nuts for you in Brazil right now.
Oh, I love Brazil, man. There's some of the best people in the world out there.
They love you, dude. They're all.
Well, see, Brazil was a cool thing for me too, going there for the first time, because Brazil is, is known as this Christian country, and even getting their perspective. I remember going to Brazil for the first time, and we're like, they're Christians like me. It's like our perspective is different. I mean, we agree on Jesus and who Jesus is, but you would talk to guys out there, and at the time, whoever our president was at the time, well, he's way off, and it's like, yeah. So it wasn't about politics. It's not like, oh yeah, every Christian is a Republican, or it's like everybody's on the right side, everybody's this and that. It's like, dude, go get outside of America, and guys, brothers and sisters in Jesus and in the Lord, they have different perspectives than you do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
Because the one thing we can agree on is who Jesus is, and that's, we're not always going to agree on everything, but we know that dude, I once was lost and now I'm found because of Jesus. So, but Brazil, I love Brazil.
We need that back. We need that back, where it's like the Christianity is not like a white Republican religion.
No, dude. No way, man. No way. And I think for Americans, that's the negative connotation, is people see it as that. They say, well, that's not for me. That's not my God. That's a white person's God from Tennessee or Kentucky.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
That I have no, but that is not true. And that's, even for me, just reading my Bible and just even the times that I've go over to Israel and just getting a different perspective, playing all over the world, and people that love Jesus of every color, of every background, and knowing that, dude, the same God that lives in them lives in me, and it's real. So I got to get outside of my, my American mentality, even though I think this is the greatest country in the world. It's
right.
It's that mentality that Christianity or Jesus, it's not American made.
That's right.
At all.
Nope. The
farthest thing from American made.
Yeah.
So
made from the heart of God, right to us, baby.
Yeah, man. Direct,
exactly. Hey, we should get done here, because I don't want to keep you all day, but I'm going to do the plug for you. But I want to ask, like, how can people, like, what's the best way to be support, like, buying music? Is there merch that's available? I know you don't want to push that stuff, but I'm asking, seriously, where do people go to, like how do they do that in a Christian world right now?
It's like we said, man. It's we need to be touring. So
Yeah. Okay.
for because nobody buys music anymore. It's just a whole different industry.
Right.
Although those who have bought our records and have gone on, and done that and bought our merchandise, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I just like more so that people represent. I like going places and then seeing somebody with a P.O.D. shirt and being like, yeah, dude, right on. I just think it's still cool that people wear P.O.D. shirts. But in the meantime, let's just get through this together, and then when we start touring again, we'd just love to see everybody's faces out there, man.
Well, dude, much love. Thanks for doing this. This is, I know like people all over the world are stoked. San Diego's stoked to have you, dude. You're a huge inspiration here and
I love the city.
A great witness. The city loves you, man. The city loves you.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, and hey, everybody, thanks for spending some time with us, Sonny, dude. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for sharing your heart. And
thanks, brother.
And love you, dude. We'll talk soon.
Love you too, brother. See you guys.
All right, later.
See you, bro.